Yo, yo, yo. How's it going? This is Afrogoth Nicole Kali here at the waterfront Alexandria at Tide Lock Park. We are here to just tell y'all bless. Thanks for being here for the journey. It's been almost half of a year since we started this specific collective. And now there's almost 700 of us all, getting to know each other, expanding, and learning together. That's why we're going to have trivia night, hopefully, if more of you show up and take the opportunity to win some free DiasporApparel. Design of your choice and merch of your choice, that could be anything from a tote to a mug to a t-shirt like this, or a tank top, a spaghetti strap that I made for myself. Our site our merch officially launches on the 19th of September. Yeah, that's right. About 2 weeks from now, you can be part of the swag that is RTT. And you can let other people know what Black people's contributions and presence is in rock and roll. That is why we have, in chronological order, as best as we could, the blues legends that led to rock and roll, and then the rock legends that we still shout out today. This is the original singer of When the Levee Breaks, Memphis Minnie, one of the best guitarists in the world. Lead Belly, who is amazing, also a foundational vanguard in rock and roll blues. Big Mama Thornton, Say No More. Elvis wouldn't have had Hound Dog without her, and he actually owes her about the equivalent of $6 billion if we were to actually even out the fees. Tina Turner, Queen of Rock and Roll. Who else? Show y'all the design. Funkadelic, One Nation Under Groove, George Jackson, for whom we named Black August. He was a political prisoner who passed away due to state assassination in 1971, right? In custody. We honor him, we care for him, and we remember the sacrifice that he made as a Black rights activist, young, and spent the rest of his life incarcerated. A lot of people love Elvis, but they don't love the impact that he has had on music and the appropriation that he has had upon music too, right? This is the back of the t-shirt design. We have Death, one of the first Black punk bands, right? And then we have Pure Hell, but they're not on the shirt. We've got Living Color, Cult of Personality, right? Felon Bowman, Kitty. Tetrarch, who is new metal, and Jesus Piece, who is hardcore, with elements of new metal themselves. Incredible artists, all of them, right? And essential if we're going to talk about the representation and the evolution of music, not just rock. So we like to play the music from our post and just, kind of have a continuing stream of synergy, right? Everything feeds into each other. You heard this on this post, now we're listening to it on live, Death is amazing. I'm glad that you decided to research them. Them and Pure Hell are definitely worth the investment. And every time that I hear people say some of the first punk bands were Dead Kennedys and The Damned, they're only partially right. Because they're not giving props to Death. This is BBO, Like a Sundial. Doja Cat actually covered this, and that was the first time I realized she had really alternative taste as an R&B and just genre-bending musician. However you feel about Doja Cat, it was cool to hear her cover this one. And she did well. It has this nice kind of nostalgic 60s sound, like the Beatles. We're going to listen to more live shows, and then we're going to get into trivia. So, we left off on live, but before all that, let's just get back to the beginning. Wednesday. The Cold Stairs, Dead Reds, Blackstone over in London's New Cross End, Sex and Dort, and Ooze, Izmir, Turkey, Cantor Christ, The Legends, Tampa's Orpheum, 6 p.m. Passenger over in Colorado, the Ogden Theater. Healing Flesh, Left on Site, Corpse Piling Company, Portland, Oregon, Dante's. Mortius, Brighter Dead Now, Somber Arcane, and Bayless Platz, Metro Gallery, Baltimore. Movements, Turnover, Queen of Jeans, also in Baltimore at Rams Head Live. Rotary Ghost, Harlem's a Shrine, one of my favorite venues in NYC. Zorn, Philly Metalheads, Circuit, Vigil, Private Hell and Company, Richmond's The Cobra Cabana. So, like 3 venues everyone really raves about, and I'll always recommend: River City Roll, Bandito's Burrito Lounge, and The Cobra Cabana. I'll be late. Zorn, tomorrow. Yes, so everyone watching, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for just being part of this trek. This diaspora trek, as it were, instead of Star Trek. Yes, we officially launched the 19th. That is right. So, 2 Thursdays from now, you will have the chance to rock the same gear as me and have a multitude of ways to, have merch, have swag, let people know that Black people in rock matter, and that Black people in general matter. When we discuss rock the diaspora, it's not just the sound, right? It's not just when we hold an instrument in our hand and when we sing. We're talking about our presence overall. You understand? Just rock the diaspora, rock you, rock your energy, your presence as an African American or just someone of African American origin. Thursday shows: Mel Banana, Bleach Green, Sewer Cats, Manchester's Rebellion, Outreach Festival, Pyramid Club, and that is in Wellington, New Zealand. Yes. I hear there's an amazing scene for metal and rock there, and I definitely vouch. Aotearoa is the name of New Zealand, the Aboriginal name. Maori. Death Crusade will be performing Untervoid, Smolder, Necrowesh, Messiah at Summer Dying Loud in Poland. That's at the Mosier venue. In Aleksandro Lodski, that's the name of the town. And that's a 3-day fest, but we just listed the first day. Fea, ugly in Spanish. Hovercar, Eleni and the Uprising will be in Tampa, Hooch and Hive on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Nostalgia Lords, Hawthorne Heights, Leftover Crack, Minglewood Music Hall. Asylum 13, that's a dark dance beats party in Wilmington, Delaware, every Thursday. Pretty and Punk, you already know. Deadsville Promotions. Who's performing? Dead and Lane, Typhoid Rose, Jersey Calling, Steel Boy and Company, Bar 13, Wilmington, Delaware. Power Wolf and Unleash the Archers, yes. Silver Spring, the Fillmore. Descendants and Circle Jerks also are performing that night. Actually, I think they're going to be at the Fillmore instead. Death Drive, The Classic Urusu, Blood Estate and Company, Heart Bar, Brooklyn, New York, baby. The Buzzcocks, Ever Fallen in Love with Someone You Shouldn't Fall in Love With, is on tour with Love Crimes. Cat's Cradle, Scarborough, North Carolina, cool. 10 Years, Conquered Divide, Keminar, Victoria Fire, Pittsburgh, Craft House, Stage 1. Dot Karaoke if you're into that, Richmond, Fallout, Head PE, Waking Tira, Black Rockers Today, Even Sun, Company, Scandals Live, Virginia Beach. On to Friday, we got The Cult and History in Toronto. Over in Tokyo, we have Dance With Me, Takayuki Miyachi, and Didi. Alright. So Didi. Noon Step, Nakano part of Tokyo. Danny Midnight and Charlotte Wood, Blackbird Rock Bar, Madrid, Spain. Lichen, that might be Lichen. And Crusade with Fiber, Ground Zero, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Y'all like Hail the Sun, they're like metal lords. They will be performing with A Lot Like Birds, Zeta, and company at Ace of Spades in Sacramento, California. Dimitra's Kinda Evil Pie Shop, DC. Friday night. Ladrones, Darker Than, Holy Frijoles in Baltimore at 9 that night. Evergreen, Shitastic, Bassmasters, Wurzburger's Tavern, Catonsville, Maryland. Sheer Terror will be at Skid Row Garage too on Friday night, and that's in York, Pennsylvania. Saturday, Hourglass, Black Ribbon, The Scone at the O2 Institute, Birmingham, England. There's also Bar Sinister in LA, Industrial / Go-Go Vantage Night. You would love it. I still have yet to attend, but I hear amazing things. The Plot and You, Invent and Animate. And Acres at Leeds Beckett Student Union in Leeds, England. Blues Rock and Headshot, Gilly Super Bar, Bangalore, India. Sarah Shook and the Disarmers, The Earl, Atlanta, Georgia. In This Moment, Avatar, TX2, Major Deal. Amphitheater at Las Colonias, Grand Junction, Colorado. Let's see what else we got. Oh, a Major Deal, Clutch and Rival Sons at the Anthem in DC. And Bruce Springsteen also in DC. Nationals Park in Navy Yard, 7:30 Saturday night. Kill the Darkness, Crimson Throne, Shock Culture, Power Plant Live in Baltimore. Fear God, Scarborough, The Crypt Keeper 5, Jimmy's. That's in Kearney, New Jersey. Oceano, Adam Warren being the black metalhead. To the Grave, Victims and Company at Montage Music Hall in Rochester, New York, upstate. And then Deep Purple and Yes, Jiffy Lube Live, Saturday night. Sunday, Eric Gales, Rock On Brother, Travis Larson at Siren, Morro Bay, California. Durfosa, Hell Yes, Lich King, Funky, Dante's. The Lemon Heads, Here's to You, Mrs. Robinson at 9:30 Club, Sunday night. Bit Brigade, who is an amazing metal video game cover band. They'll be at the Queen, Wilmington, Delaware. Dayside, Christian, Inferi, Baltimore Soundstage. The Killers, Meriwether Post Pavilion, Columbia. Lit. I haven't listened to The Killers since I was a kid, but apparently they're on tour again, so hit it up. Infinite Terror Promotions, so Self God and Demonic Altar. Reverb, Baltimore. Polaris, The Fillmore, Silver Spring, Sunday night. DRI, Retalks at Skid Row Garage. Most Lonely Boys, Tally Hill Theater. We'll list some more shows from last week when we have more guests. It's really nice to have y'all here. Whenever you do tune in, it makes my whole day. We're gonna listen to Jabba Got the Juice. Letter to My Heart. You should definitely put her on, yeah. I listened to her back in May when I went to the Stage Zero competition. Hey. Oh, a selection showcase. My bad. Stage Zero competition was August 17th with Riot Music Agency, and they put on. It was amazing. Hello, Salam. Salam, salam. Labas. Labas means how are you in Darisha. If you live in North Africa, Algeria, Morocco, Tunis, you can say, how are you? By saying Labas. Salam means peace, but also means hello. Salam alaikum is the formal way to say it. Here at Rock the Diaspora, we want to communicate with all the people that are part of, the African scattering of peoples. We don't want language to be a barrier. We don't want culture to be too much of a shock. We want to be able to engage with people as openly and as transparently as possible. Jabba got the juice. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, we're gonna listen to Flipside again. I'm very obsessed with this song. It's a good one though. We promote Black rockers, we promote all the people that are putting on and making art that is vulnerable, that is relevant, that changes how we think about life. And Kai is definitely one of those people. This is about her growing and dealing with distance and then becoming stronger. Flipside. Where y'all at? This was gonna be your chance to get some free DiasporApparel. Trivia night. But we'll be here for a while, so no rush. Let's show you the waterfront and these beautiful taxis. Potomac is gorgeous. Let's list the shows from last week, in case y'all didn't tune in. Last Wednesday, Lockstep, Panama Paper, Doctor, Siberia, New Orleans, Louisiana. Wednesday Party, that's at Little Miss Whiskey's Golden Dollar in Northeast DC. That was formerly Spellbound with Lori Beth, but now it's with DJ Devolutionary and DJ Red Leader. Sublime with Rome is finally having their farewell tour. Oh my gosh, it has been a very long time, and it all concludes with this. They'll be at Live Casino in Anne Arundel, Maryland, or were. Kenny Cole House, Murphy's Irish Pub, Alexandria. Last Thursday, there was Kickin' Valentina with the Midnight Devils. And Star Circus, London, the Blackheart. Mosh Isley, instead of Moss Isley, at the Masquerade in Atlanta, Georgia. Bloodlines, Meadows, and Balance, Becoming Sons, Vibes Underground, San Antonio, Texas. CEX Bands, Red Lounge Bar and Grill, Hell Yes. Asylum 13, again every week, in Wilmington, Bar 13, Delaware. Humphreys McGee, the Jam Band Masters with Eggy were at Pier 6 Pavilion in Baltimore last week. Let's see what else we got. Delinda's been crushing it. They were with Chained, Iron Gate, Dare to Live and Out to Destroy, Frederick, Cafe 611. Ladrones was at High Tone, Memphis, Tennessee. Ladrones has also been on tour. I'm really proud of them. Fear Factory, Wednesday 13, Black Satellite, House of Rock in Austin. Very cool. Mitski, also in Lamp, Meriwether Post Pavilion. And Disaster Piece was at the Blue Fox, and that's in Winchester, Virginia, put on by Right Live, who is a black rock promoter in that area. I'm trying to think of any other highlights for last week in terms of shows. Oh, the Robert Cray Band, yes, absolutely. Chautauqua Auditorium. Nice. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Over in Boulder, Colorado. Riot 5, Leatherwolf, El Corazon, Seattle, Washington. Let's see. Friendship Fest with For Fear Itself. Revenant, Rise Among Rivals, We Coffin, and many more. For the heavy psych doom sounds, there was Heavy Temple, living up to the name. In the Valley of the Sun, Reggie's 42nd Street Tavern, Wilmington, North Carolina. Indie Rock Karaoke, that was last Sunday, DC9. And then Totally Slow Psyop and Consumer Culture over at Local 506, Chapel Hill. It is a beautiful world of creativity and sound. I'll get into it. Feel free to ask questions, be part of it. Well, thanks for joining. I'm really excited about DiasporApparel. That is why I've been sharing so much about it. I've been very proud to present the different artistic designs and cultural contributions of artists like Sister Rosetta, artists like Leadbelly and Jimi Hendrix, and Bam Bam, Tina Bell, Queen of Grunge. Very slept on in terms of her impact and how much she lent to the Riot Girl movement and influenced, Kathleen Hanna, Bikini Kill, so many other artists. I think that does need to be said. What do you guys think about the erasure and the revisionism of African peasants in music? Cemetery Sex. Black Rocker, Anastasia, Vampire Noir, Slings and Arrows. Sorry for the noise overhead. Bear with me. It's dark quickly. Not summer as much anymore. Cemetery Sex. Go listen to them. They performed last Sunday with Blue Blacks and Company, Atlas Brewworks. It was dope. I was not there, but I heard amazing things. You'll have your chance to go see them live very soon. This is death rock, if you haven't caught on. Death rock is one of my favorite genres. Goth rock, metal, all of that. Their EP and their recently released music is some of the most badass shit I've ever fucking heard. So when I say DC's putting on for heavy sound, I mean that shit. It's just you have to actually go and seek it out. You can't just generalize in terms of who creates and makes sound here. It's very diverse, and there's space for all of us, even though people make it seem like there's not. Badass metal bands from DC, because I made a list for work and I just think it's relevant for y'all to know. Cemetery Sex, Decilis, Torvis, Borracho, right? Geisha with members of Ilsa. Ilsa's another band I was gonna list. They're badass. Bandcamp, Cemetery Sex, hit it up. Download yourself some amazing music. Support the local heads. I'm so proud of her. Her voice is just so empowering and badass. Yes to everybody in that band. Thank you. Nicole Kali here, rocking the DiasporApparel. Y'all may or may not have seen the most recent photo sets that we have released to show you what the merch will be like on September 19th. That is what we are working with. What y'all doing out there? Where you at? Y'all serious about winning some prizes? Gotta stop in and, show me your stuff. How much do you know about Black Rock? I'll show you some sample trivia questions, and maybe that will manifest some folks to take me up on that offer. A nice 2-point question that we didn't say before. What hip-hop collective is named after soul food? Don't say it in the comments. Who sings Johnny Be Good? I thought that was a good one. 3-point question. Where is Sister Rosetta's resting place? Because not everyone knows that one. And then what is Tina Turner's pre-stage name? A lot of folks do know that one, but they don't know the full name. You gotta give me Tina Turner's full name before she became a rock star. And then you'll get 3 points on that question. Might be able to win yourself a free shirt, free mug, possibly even some shades if we can work that into the shop that we've been setting up. Can you believe? In literally 2 weeks from now, y'all are gonna be able to rock the same gear as me. Some of that I will be making myself for you, and then others will just be shipped straight from our shop on Redbubble. Stay tuned. Still gonna hang around with y'all for about 10-20 more minutes. Because I wanted to say that as we continue to revisit different sites that are connected to or near Black heritage landmarks, you should know the underlying foundation of anything in the United States is African and indigenous labor. Our presence alone, but especially in terms of being workers, of giving our lives and our health to literally build the blocks, the structures that house us, right? That house power today. I find it very ironic that the very laborers who lay the bricks of these federal buildings and state buildings, plantations, etc., and then later on for sound, are then after discarded, erased, minimized. We know that there's a better way to engage, with people of African ancestry and rock the diaspora. We know that there is a history that hasn't been fully appreciated or shown. That is why we made RTV. And that's why every time that you tune in and we have dialogue, we want to be forthcoming and transparent about the revisionism, the erasure there. There's a reason that Jan Winter said what he said almost a year ago in terms of his book, The Masters, and not thinking that African Americans had as relevant of a place in the narrative of the sound as white people did, as artists like the Rolling Stones, right, as Led Zeppelin, even as Bob Dylan, etc. All of these white American and English American artists who participated in the performance of rock, of blues, became the most known for it, right? And then so doing, the progenitors of it. And they had to have known that they were getting more props than the actual founders themselves, like Sister Rosetta, Muddy Waters, Big Mama. But it's a matter of how much do you arrest the momentum once so much hype has built around you. And I don't know how much the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, The Who, the Beatles, were willing to share that spotlight, just being frank, after they had already gained so much of it. And literally invasions, like waves of music were named after them, the British wave. At the point that so much attention was being given to, these people who benefit off of black artists but don't necessarily have much of a connection or tie to them personally. You have this schism still, right? When we talk about classic rock and we talk about the people who made rock what it is. Oftentimes we're just talking about the people who came decades after the original, notes were even laid down. Jack White talked about that as well, which is ironic because he himself is someone who seems to almost fetishize blues and black sound and imitates it in what they make, right, in their music, but doesn't really understand the line between appreciation and appropriation himself. He was right to say that blues was the vernacular music of the States at that time. This was the music that most connected and resonated with people across classes and across race. But because blues was such a do-it-yourself, unrecorded medium, unrecorded genre, it would be decades after blues was created, right, that it became to be put on, records, on vinyls, and different devices so people could take blues with them, right? With the creation of vinyl was this sort of delayed understanding of who actually was the first people to, create blues. And that actually is a story that starts in Mali, in the Niger River Delta. That's a pre-American story. The origin of blues and soul sound is as old as we are, as old as time. But if we're going to date it in terms of the United States, let's just say around the time that we first landed. Because then we still had access to our multi-string instruments and we're closer to our rhythmic roots. That hasn't gone away fully, but we were still in the mind that these are traditional Ashanti rhythms. These are traditional Hausa or Yoruba rhythms, and they'll be translated onto the different instruments that we have here in the States, but also that we managed to bring with us. The bango and then the banjul being the wood for the instrument. The talking drums that would eventually become bass drums and snares. The harpsichord, which is so much like the kora, the calabash, and the shekere, becoming smaller, and then maracas, right, and the griot. The fusion of African and indigenous ancestry is very present in the Caribbean, right, and the islands, because these were the first places, the first stops on the mid-Atlantic voyage. You know that Columbus landed in 1492. You might also remember that at the same time Columbus landed in 1492, the Taino already lived in Puerto Rico in the Caribbean. Hi, how's it going? How are you? We're talking about African history, music history, and the revisionism of rock, and then understanding that the roots to the sound are actually pre-American, right? We talk about different, founders in the genre, in blues, like Memphis Minnie, When the Levee Breaks, Lead Belly, Big Mama Thornton, because they're essential to the story, right? But when we actually look at the structure for these sounds, for soul music, right, it actually starts in Central Africa, West Africa. This is why we still call it Congo Square in New Orleans, because so many of our kinfolk came from Central West Africa, Congo, right? And Niger. And Guinea as well, and Gambia too. These are all Central West African countries. Mali, Nigeria, go down the list. The issue is that people don't understand there's a fusion now. And I think they do kind of piece it together in their minds, but they're not understanding how closely linked some heritages have become because of the transatlantic slave trade. And Puerto Rico is a perfect example, right? There's almost no bigger example than Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Puerto Rico when it comes to having Afro-Latino and indigenous heritage, right? That's why it's always a very complex discussion when we talk about artists like Cardi B, who is Dominican, and how much people identify as Black, and how much that ancestry matters to them, because there's not always a smooth connection with like your African side, right, of your Afro-diasporic heritage, and that's even if you're like primarily Black, you know, let alone if you have mixed heritage. And we have space for that. We'll always make space for that dialogue, for that, you know, kind of coming into your own. Funny you say that. Breaking down the etymology of rock, you'll discover that there's definitely roots in African American vernacular English. Yeah, Black erasure in American music overall, right? Exactly. Before you showed up, I was just kind of talking about how there's this delay always when it comes to the progenitors, the creators of a sound, right? It's so raw and it's so new that it takes people a while to record it and actually come back to it and be like, there's something happening here. This is a movement, right? This is the birth of a genre. Jack White discussed how with blues, especially because in the Reconstruction era, we were simply just playing blues, bluegrass, you know, these different folk styles wherever we went, right? But not everywhere that we ended up journeying to after slavery was somewhere that could be recorded, right? It wasn't always somewhere that people could just automatically take out, you know, a recording instrument and say like, hey, can you play that again? No, blues in its very beginning was something not necessarily secretive, but it was not something that everyone understood in its importance and had access to. Some of the first field recordings of blues were from historians and, you know, researchers that went to talk to folks who were living the aftermath of slavery, right? Pre-Jim Crow, during post-Reconstruction, you know? This was the language of American culture at the time. It was blues music, right? Because there was a conversation being had there about what's really going on in day-to-day life. That's why people feel so connected and so moved by blues, is because it's reaching you on a very like sonic, spiritual, personal level, you know. This was the vernacular at the time, right, of American, you know, interaction, and it was Black. And I want people to remember that. Like, everyone was listening to blues and bluegrass at the time. But the vernacular in that and how we were describing our life was in a very Black American way. That's Robert Johnson, that's Memphis Minnie, right? That's Blind Lemon Jefferson. Back in, like, this is the 1890s, the very beginning of blues. Charlie Patton, you know, father of the Delta blues, African, well, Afro-American and Native American as well. He is one of the closest links that we have to what plantation life was like in the 1880s and the 1870s. Right? It was a mixture of Native American, European, and kinfolks presence. And in that synergy and that kind of blending, you find musicians like Charlie Patton, right? You find musicians later like Jimi Hendrix, who is partially Native American as well. And Buddy Miles, his best friend, who played with him, you know, and later would become, you know, Band of Gypsies. There's just something to be said for how much, yeah, blues was like, you know, the soundtrack to US, like, for a good 60 years. Until blues would evolve into doo-wop, and then, you know, R&B, and the rest is history. The cool thing is that you never really stop listening to blues because every genre is kind of an offshoot, a cousin, or a child of that. Blues lives in us, and our ancestry is strong. We rock the diaspora, and our roots run deep. That's why our slogan will never change. It's always going to be, don't fear the darkness, don't fear the Black. Like, That's actually going to be on our merch. It's like Don't Fear the Blackness, and then Our Roots Run Deep. Deep as the earth, as tough as the core. That is we, that is our people. We made it, y'all. We made it. We're here. That is a monumental achievement for all that we endured. We are still alive. And we're making art. Unbelievable. Like speechless, spellbinding. For all of our suffering and all of our pain, we still managed to make it to this year, 2024. I'm proud of us, certainly. There's a lot that we went through to get to this point, but I'm glad we did. I think I find fascinating the correlation between the Race Music label, right, and how it transformed into the label of R&B, right? So again, this schism in the dialectic, right? We want to other this genre. We want to make it so that it's separate from white creativity, but we also want to make it so white artists can play this genre later on, right? White people didn't really know how to feel about R&B, doo-wop, race music. They felt this kind of compelling urge to cover it, obviously, or else Elvis wouldn't have been a thing. And engage with it in some sort of superficial way, but most white interaction with race music at the time was just very extractivist, very one-sided, very ulterior, you know? You see that in Dreamgirls, you know, and that scene where they took their song and covered it and didn't give them credit. They even had a conversation in Dreamgirls about like who actually made Hound Dog, and then Effie's brother says Elvis, and then Curtis says no, actually it was Big Mama Thornton, but she was paid a flat fee so that she would give up the rights to her song. But before she even was in the position to give up the rights to the song, Elvis had already covered it. He had already taken it. And why there's so much contention with music genre labels as a result. Exactly. The issue is that the industry had everything to do with, yes, exactly, the transformation of music, its classification, and their motives transformed how they would classify music, right? Because these executives wanted to make sure that segregation stayed very, very entrenched in music and allowed opportunities and afforded opportunities to white artists on labels, but then kept black artists in a very like compartmentalized, limited context, right? Once race music was attached to black artists, especially ones like Aretha Franklin, Tina Turner, it was more difficult for them to perform in any venue in any way but what they had already been labeled as. This is when you see this very ferocious fight over space. There's only room for one artist and one genre, especially when you're African American. If there's Aretha, then there's not going to be any other mega stars at the time without there being some sort of sense of crabs in a barrel. With black rock, right, there's only really going to be one big black rock band at the time. Ooh, something bit me. Ow. That hurt. 1 second, y'all. Oh, I thought that's what that was. Yeah, music history in particular, music education in history, exactly. The issue with music education is that a lot of us just don't receive that in an honest context. Yeah, sorry, I'm having some bug issues here. the solution would be in terms of musical education, right? Because for me, I had to compile decades of knowledge, of information. I had to go and seek this out. Many people taught me, like my mama and my grandmother and my dad. And even many professors were part of my musical journey in terms of understanding musicology and ethnomusicology, right? But many times, you set off on this sort of like quest for information alone, right? You probably just want to know, what is my place in the diaspora, right? Like, what kind of sounds do we make when we look at Africa? And then how does that translate into our presence here in the United States, in the Americas? The reality is that if any of us look at our genealogy and our family tree, we probably realize right away why we make the music and the art that we do. It has been handed down to us as genetic memory. Some people call that epigenetics. I absolutely agree. But for me, it's more of an ancestral recall. And that goes a little deeper than epigenetics, right? That's more of a metaphysical reawakening, right? Of talent, of memory, of pride, of blood, right? The blood of your forebears is now yours. And all of what they experienced is now part of you. This bug is really trying to mess me up. But this is why we have this shirt, y'all. Because it would not be possible without them. There is definitely some sort of centipede or millipede that keeps trying to bite me. So I might move. If it so pleases you. I will keep the dialogue going, fam. Thanks for being here for the dialogue. It means a lot. You matter. Your presence matters, and your contributions do. Y'all, supposed to be trivia. Where you been at? What about the free merch? That's alright. As long as y'all are getting something out of these streams, as long as we're learning and we're excited about the diaspora and the movement, then we've achieved our goal. But I do want to just stay here a little bit longer and talk some realness with you. Some of y'all may know I've been going through a lot of really tough personal battles, especially in July between the car accident and one of my relatives passing away, and then, just kind of having some schisms in terms of how I relate to like friends, acquaintances, etc. It's not easy to kind of recalibrate and not be bothered by the circumstances. It gets overwhelming for me, and then as a result it spills over into a lot of social dynamics, and that's unfortunate. I think that's becoming more and more common, honestly, amongst people, especially amongst homies, is not having the capacity because things are so difficult. But hey, things being difficult should not stop you whatsoever. From being part of this chaotic but beautiful world of ours, you know? Check out the water view at night. Isn't it gorgeous? Yeah, welcome to Alexandria, fam. What did we talk about? That the cultural language of the United States, the most relevant form of dialogue, was actually art, and still is. But after the Civil War, after slavery officially ended, when we left and we told the stories of how we emerged and kept going, you understand? That was a conversation that everyone felt some sort of empowerment by proxy. That is why blues became the main genre of music, and then evolved to become all that we still hear now. Why am I repeating this stuff? Because it always does come back to the diaspora. It always will. Well, if it isn't one of our favorite rockers, Shavero. How's it going over there? You have some swag of your own that I've been trying to get. Maybe you could win some free merch one of these days. But you have no one to play trivia with. No fun if it's just you. Do you want some free swag, homie? You could bend the rules a little bit if you answer enough questions. We can definitely hook it up. You down, Shavera? Alright. Good looks. Alright. I'm gonna give you 5 questions. If you can get 3 of them right, I will send you free swag of whatever you like with Rock the Diaspora's design on it, right? It's totally fine. Like, they're not gonna be super difficult questions. You'll know them. I'm kind of baked, he says. Me too. I came to this park actually semi-baked myself, so like, don't even feel bad. All right, first question, Shavero and Dion. Thanks for joining us. How many strings are typically on an electric guitar? You can give us more than one answer, but the typical amount of strings on an electric guitar. How many? And since you and Lou Goubert, we know that you know. Your music fucking kills. Y'all want to listen to the homie Shavero? Lou Goubert, Luguber. They're from Suriname. They're so cool. I like your thinking, Shavero. I like your thinking. I was gonna say, yeah. 6 or 12. Oh, look at Dion. Luguber gang is here, like, in force. Like, do you realize how much I've been listening to y'all? I didn't realize how long it had been since I first heard you. But then I was looking at, like, the Caribbean metal band list that put me onto you in the first place. And I was like, oh my god, I made the Caribbean metal band list like 7 years ago. And you had already been playing for at least 2. So, shout out to a real one who's been out there doing it. Yes. You're right. Okay. So you just got yourself 1 point. And then Dion got himself a point because you're both right. Shavera 1, Dion 1. We're going to do a 2-point question now. 2-point question. You ready? It is so wild. But I don't think it was random, fam. That's the thing. I think fate actually just kind of put you in my path. Because I was looking for bands from Suriname. I had to, like, as many bands as I could look for, basically, in, like, South America and the Caribbean. So I would type in different countries. like Suriname, and it would give me Asylum, and it would give me Lugaber. I would type in other places, it would give me like Verge of Umbra. Where is Motown? What city? The iconic label. Two points question for Motown. Three more questions to go. I love Motown. Like, I know there's a lot of problematic stuff with that label, and Quincy wasn't exactly an angel, but they've done so much for like black culture and like black music. Like Stevie Wonder, the Supremes, like just so legendary. Wow. Look at you. You're good. Dion! Where you at, brother? That was supposed to be your point. What's up? Dion's like, hey man, I'm just here for the ride. I didn't say I was trying to do trivia. Alright, okay. Sparrow's got him, so he's racking us with points now. You got 3. Okay. He just wanted to know. And this is the thing, like, no matter like whether you win the trivia or not, like it's just the fact that we're learning this stuff together. If you didn't know where Motown is, you know, now you do. One of the most fun times of my life and chill is just hanging out with my like older family and just listening to like music from that era, the goldies. Okay, third question. And this is gonna be for 3 points this time. But it's not gonna be that difficult. So, I want to pick one that's like semi-fair. Okay, yeah. Which state? Oh, do I believe in Odia? Yes. And I'll tell you why. I didn't know what to make of it at first. I'd always kind of had this reverence, but this kind of like hesitation when it came to like the metaphysical world and the other, you know? But then I actually went to the Caribbean, and then I started hanging out with more people that were connected to that African heritage and weren't afraid to like explore magic and I guess like ritual. And I was like, oh, like there's some true beliefs in here, you know, like there's actually like some legitimacy to the power that's invoked in Odia. Same with Yoruba. Same with like Santeria, but Santeria is, I'm not gonna say scary, but like it's I have almost kind of a fearful respect for Santeria, for like all of these ritual ceremonies, you know. Ask away. It's all about dialogue. It's all about just opening up and sharing your thoughts. Ask whatever you like, you know? Let's get to know each other, you know? Like, feel free to share what's on your mind. What's on your mind, boo? And thanks for tuning in, like, more than anything. Like, just thanks for trusting me to ask questions and, you know, just being part of the crew. Because Rock the Diaspora is like all of us, you know? You're always welcome here. These flies and these moths, they're loving these multicolored lights. I think they're trying to get to the light, but they keep attacking me instead. Like, live your best life, flies. Whatever you're doing. You are such a vibe. So Vera, that's coming from you. You're the king of vibe. What do you mean? So thank you. And I mean that sincerely. Like, you got me. I'm about to start like blushing and shit, even though I'm like medium brown. Fam, that's too kind of you. One day we're gonna hang out, and I don't mean that in like a fake like, oh, we'll hang out one day. Like I am determined to at some point meet up with the rockers that I know and actually vibe for reals. Thanks for doing what you do, Shavero, and same with you, Dion. Who is Shalana? Shalana is a homie of mine. She does have a clothing line named Punkdemic. We were actually going to promo them, but we forgot to bring her merch. We model for her, but we also have our own Diaspora label. DiasporApparel is the name of the merch, right? Because we want to rep the diaspora and just talk about our presence in music as much as possible. She's doing the same thing, right? But she's got more of this punk edge to it. And a lot of her apparel is skating related, rap related, just like badass, kind of like alternative related. Our stuff is alt, but it's not specifically, I think, focused on that. It's more just from a cultural / like design angle. We're doing very similar stuff, but she's a little more hardcore with it. Literally hardcore. And I'm proud of Shalana. So thanks for asking. It's like you just kind of knew she was on my mind. I need to hit her up pretty soon. Yeah, 3-point question, my dearies. Give me the state where the Blues Trail is found. The famous Blues Trail, you know? You probably know the Delta. That'll help you get closer to where I'm talking about. Where is the Delta? And where is the Blues Trail? You and her got close? Oh, well, that's probably because I told her, just quite frankly, that I was going through a hard time, and it seemed like she was kind of talking more about herself than making space for me. And I haven't talked to her since I made that clear. Which, like, I don't mind being friends with people, and I don't mind them venting to me and, like, needing comfort from me, but that was just, not to put it all out there, that was just something that I kind of noticed, is that when they were going through a lot of stuff, it was easier for me to be there for them than she was for me when I found out I had cancer and like a lot of other stuff happened. And that's just kind of how it is with friendships in general. I don't think she was quite ready to have a conversation about it being kind of one way until I kind of just like fell back after that. And I think she's still kind of feeling self-conscious about it. I still have it, mind you. But when she reached out and said, like, I'm sorry. So she said, I'm sorry. And I was like, I accept your apology, but it kind of already, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of already tells me, like, you know that this is a problem by you saying, I understand, like, why you feel that way. I was like, oh, so you know that you talk too much about yourself. You were just hoping that I didn't make it that big of a deal and then distance myself because of it. Yeah. That's a flaw in a lot of people, especially the older that you get, because it's harder to arrest the momentum of centering yourself once you've already gotten so used to doing it. Unfortunately, that is one of their biggest setbacks, and I wasn't sugarcoating it with them as a result, because I think Shalana's used to having things being sugarcoated. She withdrew from me at the same time I withdrew from her, but again, that's her fault. Not to lay blame, but it just is what it is. Like, I wasn't the one primarily talking about myself. I was making it clear that it was a two-way street. She's not good at that. And she never has been good at that. I'm just going to be real. But that's being a friend, is being honest about what people are not good at. And folks make it seem like I don't care about them, or I care about them less because I can be honest about the things that make them not so great. No, I have eyes. I have ears and I have eyes. So if I notice certain things, I'm probably going to speak on them. If it makes you feel a type of way, then just don't do them. Right? And this is the same for me. Like, if something I'm doing makes you feel some type of way, I'm just not going to do it. But don't be afraid to tell me. typically speaking, Geminis get a bad rap because we don't take criticism well even when it's true. That's not me. I'm one of the few Geminis that I can roll with the punches. If you have something to say, let me know. Which is why I told you, anything that you want to bring to the forum, thank you for trusting me enough to talk with you for real. Shavero, it's alright, baby. You didn't give me this illness. Like, I don't even think, like, the creator, wherever they are, gave me this illness. It just happens. And it's benign. You know, it's not like anything's gonna happen to me that's, like, super severe. But it's pain. You know what I mean? It's pain, and it's unpredictable, fluctuating strength as a result of having the illness. And I didn't realize it really until, like, I kind of came out of my depression, but then I was still feeling tired and weird. I was like, I thought that was just me having really up and down, like, mood swings. But then I was like, oh, this is more like, this is hereditary. This is cancer. Yeah. So my whole thing, and you can tell me, brother, I have been having this sort of back and forth with a lot of people that mutually know me and other people about, like, I have no ownership over you, and I'm not going to make you feel bad if you choose to be friends with either one of us. But, like, don't do that thing where you attack the person that mutually knows us and blame them for wanting to reach out to me, because they don't know the context of the interaction that we had, right? And as it is, like, is the interaction that the party that is not part of this conversation, like, was that a bad interaction? Not necessarily. It was an honest one, but she shouldn't have gone off on you like that. Cause I get it, like, it's life. Like, sometimes people are just gonna be like, I actually don't want to deal with the drama. I don't want to be in the middle of this, so I'm just gonna go and do my separate thing and talk to neither of you. That's a reality too. But what is not an acceptable reality is not telling people why you have beef with them, or over-exaggerating the reason that you disagree with them because you fell out with somebody else. There'll be time to recover from that kind of thing. Shavero, are you still there? You didn't answer my Mississippi Blues Trail question, fellas. That was the answer, by the way. We got more questions, though. You want to hop in? Mississippi Blues Trail is actually kind of a tough one. All right, so Robert Johnson, you were absolutely welcome. Like, I had a feeling that you two mutually knew each other, and I know that when people like me as much as they like anybody that I'm beefing with, it gets under their skin, right? Like, there's nothing worse than, like, not fucking with someone and then you see, like, all of your peers still fucking with them. It's even worse when they didn't do anything wrong. So you can't be mad at them. You just don't like them. And that's basically the situation. So you can't really be mad at me for a legitimate reason. You're just upset people like me as much as you or more. You gotta ask yourself why people like me as much as they like you or more. It might be the attitude, quite frankly, and not to be mean. But yeah, people always wonder, like, why do people vibe with you so much more? Because I am a vibe and you're not? Like, you're not making yourself a vibe, so people obviously aren't going to want to consistently talk to you. And then you're mad at me because it's easier for me. Well, like, I got my shit out of the way, so I wouldn't be so, you know, difficult to deal with, because I know that I can be. That's the thing. Shalana has not gotten to the point where she's admitted that she's difficult to deal with. I'm fully aware of that. And for that, I'm more observant than talkative. You'll notice that about me. Is like, I will talk, for sure. But I'll likely learn more and just listen than I have things to say. because in that, I'm getting more information. You ready for another 3-point question? It's no shade and shit. It's just like, yeah, like, if you know you're a difficult person, like, don't be upset when people don't vibe with you. And don't be upset when they give you constructive criticism about, like, how you could be more of a vibe. Because they're not always saying, like, be toxically positive. That's not what they're asking from you. They're asking you to make the scales more even. So that people know that you care about them. That's all people really want. They want the give and take. They want to know, like, as much as you talk about yourself, there's got to be room for me. That's what RTD is about. That's why we go live all the time. Because it's the mutual dialogue there. You trust me enough to open up and ask me stuff. I trust you enough to, like, tell you stuff and have that dialogue, that flow. Can you tell me, y'all, Robert Johnson, Legend of Blues, where did he go? People always talk about Robert Johnson went down to the nice. So now you got 4. Hell yeah. That was the 3rd question. So Shavero's got 3. And then you have 3, right? Oh my god, you guys tied right now? Oh wait, no, you had a 1.2. So actually you have 4. Nice. How do y'all both write? Not bad. I love that y'all know. Route 66. Clarksdale, Mississippi. That intersection at Clarksdale, Mississippi, speaking of Obey and magic and the supernatural, they say if you go there at a certain part of the night, ooh, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. They say if you go to the crossroads where he went to about 100 years ago now, you can still see him. Not every night, you know what I mean? Like, obviously everyone's going to go down there and see if they can see Robert Johnson. But sometimes, on a really, like, perfect night, you'll start to hear the guitar first, and that's like the most chilling part, is like, where's the guitar coming from? And then it starts to click with you. Like, oh, I'm hearing Robert play. Oh, he's still here. Oh, he never left. Yeah, like, Robert is so attached to the place where he learned how to play music. Many people say, like, Robert didn't necessarily sell his soul when he went to the crossroads, but he left so much of himself there. Right? He was so attached to it that it's almost like he gave part of his soul up to play. So if you go there now around 12, you can summon the devil. That's the only place that they can come. So they say, right? I think he just was so excited to learn music that he just went to that place and just kept practicing and kept practicing and kept practicing. And like that loop of him becoming better, you know, as a guitarist was something that like we can still tap into after he's gone. We can still see him learning how to play. We can still hear him practicing. That's mind-blowing to me. That's most hauntings, it turns out. It's just you're glimpsing someone's reoccurring life experience because they left so much of an imprint with their energy. And they're like, here I am, you know. That's you. That's me. That's the diaspora. That's people in general. When we live such an impactful or like intentional life, we leave marks, you know, we leave memories. And I think that's a beautiful memory, is that Robert is still at the crossroads. Maybe he's even teaching other people how to play just by being there, just by them hearing him still play those notes in the afterlife. He's inspiring them. It's creepy. It is eerie, but it's beautiful. So there's a story in Suriname. If you go under the bridge after 12, it's always after 12. What is it about that halfway mark in the day? Do you meet some sort of troll? I've heard that before. There's a certain name for it. I don't know what it is, but like, yeah, in Suriname, like there's a certain like I think it's any bridge, but specifically like some bridges, like there'll be some sort of like magical, like weird creature that grants your wishes like a wizard. How cool is that? They call that repeating phenomenon. Exactly. A repeating phenomenon, or an intelligent haunting, or a non-intelligent haunting. It's just recurring energy. I thought that 3 was the devil's hour, but maybe 3 is the demon's hour, and then 12 is the devil's hour. Mixed up. Baku Duende. That's the one that I remember. I was like, are you talking about Duende? Because that dude I know. I never liked stories about Duende. But yeah, shout out to just right now, like shout out to all the blues legends. Rest in peace to Robert Johnson. Rest in peace to Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Rest in peace to Memphis Minnie. All of us who are no longer here, we love you, and we remember you. I love scary haunting stories like that too, because there's just always this sense of mystery. There's always this sense of like, why? You know, like, don't you ever wonder that was supernatural? I'm sure we all wonder, like, why am I seeing it? Why is this even happening? What is this? Like, where am I right now? And that's the thing that I think trips people up the most with the supernatural, is you realize after the fact there's an overlap of planes here, right? There's this like median that we're in on Earth, where it's like you can easily slip between the spirit plane and ours and not even know. And then these things end up happening where you're like, there is not as much of a fixed boundary or like barrier between us at all. And that trips a lot of people up, I think, especially in the Deep South. And especially trips people up in the Deep South, is like the paranormal is everywhere. Spiritual energy is everywhere. Hello, how's it going, Gabrielle? You're so cool. Sister Rosetta is a legendary guitarist. We actually have a question about her that could define whether you win or not. She's a 3-point question. Here in Georgia, we got a lot of haunted towns. Exactly. That were just ditched and left behind. Plantation towns, you know, like mining towns, just in general, like just boom towns that after a while people just dipped, and or they were truly just so haunted that people chose to start over elsewhere. They were almost going to do that with Macon, Georgia. Macon is still so haunted that a lot of people just up and left. Savannah as well. Savannah is the main one that people leave en masse because it's so fucking haunted. And I had no idea about that until I met people from there. They're like, yeah, it's almost impossible to find a house that doesn't have something. And I'm like, I could not imagine, like, that is such an astounding saturation of the supernatural where, like, you just know pretty much anywhere you're gonna move to in the city is haunted. Like, and it's just a fact of life for them. They're just like, yeah, you know, probably gonna have ghosts in my next house. I'm just like, oh. Yeah, black people don't fuck with that, Shavero, right? So me hearing that, I'm cool with it. But a lot of black folks, like my aunts and my other elders, they would have a heart attack if someone told them, like, yeah, like, Savannah is just 100% haunted. Because they're imagining what it would be like to be in that state, you know, around that all the time. Keep in mind, also, a lot of our black elders have had spiritual, supernatural experiences that are very scary. So when they think about the possibility of having another encounter, they're recalling, like, the last one. That was definitely my grandma and my aunt. My grandma saw several entities when she was growing up, and then in the house that we used to have. My aunts and uncles, the same. And never the same entity either. Different ones. It's for that I think I have an appreciation of the unknown and the scary. But I also respect it more because I'm like, no, I've seen how it affects people, and I've seen it firsthand, you know? All right, 3-point question. Hi. 3-point question. Give us 3 orishas. Orishas from Yoruba, right? This is a belief system from Nigeria that would become Santeria, right? I can't name the different, people of that. Orishas? Santeria. Okay, I'll give you one. Oshun is an Orisha. You hear people talk about Oshun. She wears yellow. She's gorgeous. She's the goddess of Yoruba, right? She loves perfume. She loves rivers. She's very classy. That's her. She's an Orisha who is a deity of Yoruba, right? Some of us know a lot about Yorubans and some of us don't know much at all. And that's okay. We're all getting to that point together. But that's that Afro-Caribbean connection again, Like, why would a Nigerian belief system be in like Puerto Rico and Cuba, etc., if not for that voyage, the mid-Atlantic slave trade? Ooh, I love that you said Anansi. So Anansi is actually West African too, but she is a deity from Ghana, and she's a spider. She is kind of, I feel like if Tolkien was going to be real from Lord of the Rings, she's kind of the inspiration for Shelob. She's just a really massive, terrifying spider. I love that you know African mythology either way. Like, this is the beautiful thing about this conversation is even if you don't get the answer right, per se, I'm still knowing how much you know about our people. I'm seeing how much you know about our culture, and I'm learning new things. The spider gave me the creeps in Lord of the Rings. I can never watch that scene. Exactly. I have arachnophobia too, like... Anansi? How do I know it's a she? That's a great question. I think Shavero, because when I read 2 interpretations, 2 of them said that Anansi was a he, but then 2, the way that it's translated, they said that Anansi was a she. I was like, oh, okay. So I'm not actually really sure if Anansi has a gender or what gender they would be. I just became fascinated with the idea that Anansi could be female. And it makes more sense in the context of the story because, like, she's essentially, like, trying to find someone to, like, get shacked up to, and you know what happens when female fighters find somebody. It's a very short story after they get shacked up. Every time I think about arachnids in the natural world, I'm like, guys, human men are complaining a lot because we give y'all a lot more slack than spiders do. Okay, bet. I figured Anansi was most likely male. Cool. Alright, well, since we don't know Orishas, Yamaya, Oshun, Shango would be 3. Yamaya, the Mami Wata, goddess of the oceans. Calypso from Pirates of the Caribbean is based on Yamaya, sea goddess, ocean mother. And then Shango, god of the thunder. Anansi is much like Loki. There's always a sort of trickster character that usually shapeshifts or takes another form, or has some sort of form that's similar to a spider or creepy in that way, right? Loki had several forms, if we're going to talk about just that theme across mythology. And one of his favorite forms was spider. Calypso is a baddie. Calypso is that baddie. And I love that there's that connection of, like, Greek mythos with the Caribbean of, like, Calypso, like, drums and stuff, right? And then Pirates of the Caribbean with her being the sea goddess. Tell us about Anansi and Curaçao. Yeah, that actually is very true, Shavero. You're absolutely right. Yeah, like the relationship she had with Davy Jones is like, they fused this like Caribbean European mythos. It was really weird. like, I always wondered why they didn't just make it like a specifically like more African, like Afro-Caribbean thing, but I understand, like, it was just a certain time era. They weren't really trying to get into like, you know, African representation of these beliefs. They only touched partially on Calypso being an Obe priestess and what Obe even is. We're just supposed to know that Obe is voodoo, that it comes from West Africa, that's her power. Calypso is essentially hooked up with Chiron, the ferryman of the dead. You know, it's Calypso, and instead of Odysseus this time, he's kind of a mixture of Odysseus and like the ferryman of the dead on the river Styx, Davy Jones. And she's the goddess basically that trapped him on her island and then sent him away. The part of Caribbean story goes a little bit deeper than you would imagine, all the way down to what female pirates were like. Yes, they were extremely fearsome. The women were feared just as much, if not more so, than the men, because they wouldn't hold back. You know what I mean? Women, a lot of the time, were already becoming pirates because they wanted to escape the social system of sexism and patriarchy at the time. So when they became pirates, they were extremely ruthless, you know, and not bound to the same social rules anymore. You can imagine a woman in those times, given the chance to be like badass renegade with a gun and a sword in her hand, is definitely going to become a certain type of person. When did your grandparents tell you about Anansi, Shavero? We got another 3-point question, by the way. Shavero's got 3, Dion's got 4. This isn't even really a 3-point because I know y'all know. And keep telling me your story, by the way, Shavero. Let me know when you're ready. I'm not gonna rush you. My favorite is the famous Asian female pirate. Yes, exactly. She had over 60 vaults of treasure. And she ran the Singaporean seas in East Asia. When we talk about, like, at World's End, the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and you see them in Singapore. And those two, like, Asian twins that are, like, hanging out with Sao Feng, the Pirate King of Singapore. They're referring to that era where, like, yeah, like, Mistress Chin from, like, the whole, like, the pirates that all get together and stuff, she was real. Folks were laughing about the whole Mistress Chin and stuff when the pirates all met up and gave their 9 pieces of 8, but like, no, like, she actually was running, like, the East Asian seas. Like, Mistress Chin was real. And she had a whole crew of Asian dudes that ran with her and, like, respected her as much as they respect anybody else. Polarizing figure for sure, but extremely important when it comes to the history of East Asia and the world. Because what she did, the impact of that was Europeans actually staying out of, you know, those waters for a very long time, or being very timid when they went to that part of the world. Excuse me, sorry about that. She was a boss, no matter how you want to splice it down the middle. She lived life the way that she wanted to. She was that badass. Shavero is telling us about his Anansi stories with his grandparents, and I've been holding this bowl, so let me smoke it. That was very Stoner Doom of me. There should have been some heavy chugs playing when I, like, blew that out of my nose. Electric Wizard. Yeah, she was like, you know the Greyjoys from, like, Game of Thrones, that whole pirate family? Like, she was like the Greyjoys if the Greyjoys actually went ham. Like, House Kraken can, like, go in anytime. Like, they wish they were as cool as she was. Yeah, exactly. It's a fairy tale. It's a fable and a fairy tale. Anansi, the deer, the rabbit, the tiger, and all the stories. And they usually have a funny story about how he gets the tiger or tricks them, right? Slow, heavy metal play. Exactly. I fucking love Wind Hand! Y'all, like, the synergy is crazy. Like, the synergy is literally wild because I was making the DC bands list I told you. And then, like, Wind Hand was literally on the list at the very end. I was like, can't forget about Wind Hand. So thank you for bringing them up. I love their influence being known all over the world. I love that people can hear the sounds of DC when they listen to Wind Hand, and like different songs of the metro, you know, in the distance, and like the mosquitoes, and just all this ambience about this area they captured. The vibe of the creepy, like woodsy, like eerie vibe of the East Coast and the DMV. Wind Hand is so good with that. So last question, because my phone is about to die. Aaliyah. Aaliyah plays which iconic Afrogoth vampire in the 2000 movie Queen of the Damned? 3 points. You don't have to give her a full name because she has a title, but just give us her first name. Aaliyah and Queen of the Damned. Damn, she was fine in that movie. Oh my god, like, you want to talk about, like, me going Afrogoth? Like, that was it. Let me see if I can charge this computer. Or, like, charge this phone by doing this. We have to talk about Aaliyah. Like, we have to talk about her. Like, she will always matter. Like, you don't realize how much she was important to me too. Like, that is why we're talking about her still. We'll always talk about Aaliyah. She was my sister. Like not biologically, but like she was my older sister. When I looked at Aaliyah, when I first saw her for the first time, like, Are You That Somebody? I was like, oh, like, Aaliyah's like the older sister I never had. Cool. And like, she's kind of goth like me, but she never said it, you know? Like, she's into all this dark stuff and rock and like alternative culture like me. I never saw anyone like her before. Like, not even being sentimental, I never saw anybody being so openly alternative. And a black woman at that. Like Aaliyah. Before that. There's Tina Turner, you know? Like, there was Queens of Rock. Like, there was plenty of, like, even kinda, you know what I mean? Like, different black women that showed that they were into rock, but never quite like Aaliyah, to where they were just straight up in a vampire film, in this gothic film. And hanging out with Trent Reznor and listening to, like, 9 Inch Nails, like, that had never really been seen before. And she was the new generation on this verge of fusion. She was already fusing, like, hip-hop and R&B, right? You started to see her fuse more R&B with goth, and then all of a sudden there's this health goth, like, street goth movement, and everyone's dressing like her, with the shades and, like, the hair going perfectly over her eyes, you know what I mean? And, like, the dark pants being baggy but just tight enough, and, like, the cropped, like, black tops, like, all of that is actually, like, goth, right? We have to talk in general about how the R&B movement in general took a lot of different inspirations from, like, the underground, like, industrial scene at the time. And Aaliyah was one of those people. Aaliyah loved it. At first you don't succeed. I need to get the note right. Because, like, Baby Girl went it. At first you don't succeed. Dust yourself off and try again. You can dust it off and try again. Try again. What you did, give it to me. What you did, have your way. You give up, try again. If I hesitate, don't let you win. Be yourself, keep that you want. Keep it moving. Yeah, my dream girl would totally be, totally be Aaliyah, for sure. Diddy low-key was goth. No, 100%. Bad Boy and that whole label, like, a lot of New York at that time, like, they had flirted so much with rock that it was part of their whole vibe and they didn't even realize it. Some did. Like RZA and, like, you know, Ramsey Jones, they're related. They listen to rock and stuff all the time. That's how Gravediggers became a thing. This whole, like, horrorcore, city vibe, but still very, like, dark, goth, you know, like, death-related music. That was a thing. That's still a thing. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't really have as much of that kind of, like, mainstream acceptance, I think, of, like, Afrogoth if it wasn't for artists like Notorious talking about, like, you know, after death and, like, Ready to Die. You know what I mean? Like, these artists that are, like, more and more talking about, like, death in these very, like, real, tangible, like, uncomfortable ways, like Method Man and Wu-Tang and stuff. Like, that was a really revolutionary breakthrough in sound. And a lot of people don't realize it, you know? They take it for granted. Like, no, like, a lot of artists weren't talking about shit like that. They weren't, like, making it clear with pop culture reference that they broke out of the stereotype. Like, you know, like, Tikal sounds like this gothic, like, classic, like, anthem. You know? I'll be right back, though. I'm still here, but continue. No, exactly. And then, because I knew y'all were going to say it, I don't always like to be the one that... How can we forget the Lords of Horrorcore, 3-6? Like, you want to talk about, like, putting, like, horrorcore in this fusion of, like, dark, heavy music on the map? Like, Crime Mob, Gravediggers, 3-6 Mafia, Notorious B.I.G., Death Row. Like, literally, like, Death Row. Why do they call it that? Because that was something that they had already fully accepted as part of their identity. Like, we are basically the goths, you know, the death heads of hip-hop, of rap. And they truly were, you know what I mean? Like, Bone Thugs and shit, like, yeah. And I call them death heads because they were all talking about death in just this really casual, badass way. The same way the rock stars do. The same way the death metal heads do. Powerful. For so long on the black community and in the African diaspora, the way that we accept death and we talk about death is usually only when someone else brings it to us, right? But this is the first time we're just kind of looking at it like, no, like, we have the control over our destiny. Like, we can talk about death in ways that aren't just in somebody else's, like, hands, in control. Like, that shit was ham. That shit was cool. It is cool. Like, in a present tense, not the past tense. Dude, this millipede is trying to kill me, I realize. We're at war right now. This is an ancient battle, friends. And I might not win. I ain't got many phobias. I'm obviously outside. But millipedes, though? And centipedes. Oh, the many-legged creatures of the world have me shook. And I will not be ashamed of that. Because what you got that many legs for, and why are you biting me? Like, why do you have pincers? Real life Pokemon out here just, like, making their mark on the world. It's so scary. My little friend, you've already bitten me enough. Little bastard. I must do something that I hate to do. Don't judge me, fam, but this mug keeps biting me. I'm sorry, friend. Couldn't be helped. Oh, of course. I've seen homeboy carrying around his kids, and then I saw the video of like it was like a stitched together video. Hi, Nate. You know those like Stitch videos, like when it's not your original, but you just respond to it? I saw the one where he responded to that spider with all his kids on his back, getting hit, and then all of the little kids just escaping. And then he just looks so terrified, he just packs up his bag and drives to the airport and just decides that like he's just gonna live a new life, because that might be me. If I hit a spider and all of their living kindred pour out and spread to different directions of my house, I might just relocate permanently. That one nigga that disappears in the meme, just like Chuck the Deuce's dip. Oh, so Lestat was the name of her boyfriend, Shavero. But what is the name of Aaliyah? What was her character's name? And if you can answer that, then you can get some free merch. She is Queen blank. And damn, she was a queen. When I think about her role in that, just to wrap up the horrorcore, the Afrogoth presence in like pop culture and just how influential that was, she actually genuinely scared me. Like when I thought about how like Akasha would actually be in real life, and like just the way that she portrayed her, like so powerful but so casually like violent and like cruel, I was just like, oh, she's perfect. Like she's genuinely like a horror character. She's doing a damn good job. She was yes, exactly. So like there is actual African mythos about vampires. She's based on that. Akasha. I believe Akasha, in the context of the story, meant the blood drinker, the thirsty, because she was the first one to ever have the vampire bloodlust. I love etymology like that, even if it's fictional. I'm a movie buff too. You know me, I'm in media, hello. How else would I, like, I guess have made it to this point with Rock the Diaspora and like designing stuff, you know, and like connecting with you in this way without, you know, geeking about movies. Movies definitely have a huge influence on us, you know, as people, especially as Black people, because that's where we go to see ourselves a lot of the time, right? Is movies. Especially in the era before the internet. That's where we wanted to go to see people who looked like us and were cool. That's why Aaliyah was a big part of that, because she was in so many films before her passing. Films like Romeo Must Die, films like Queen of the Damned, you know? She was even going to be in Charlie's Angels, but alas, fate did not turn out that way. This is one of my favorite hip-hop songs, called Ground, by DJ Crush, Japanese DJ, with Deflon Solar, rest in peace. She was really great in that. She was so good in that. Well, tell you what, Dion. You earned yourself some free merch. So, if you feel comfortable, you can send Rock the Diaspora your address. Let us know what kind of merch that you would like. We can't send you the official site yet, but let us know if you want a mug, if you want a shirt. Which designs you like, I'll send you several. And we will hook you up by the equinox and before the official launch on September 19th, y'all. we will have some giveaways. And this is the first. Take your time on the address, though, Dion. But you definitely did win the trivia. Rock the diaspora. Well, thank you. But we did promise that the winner of trivia got themselves some swag, so let us know. I always take New York with me, and like this song just exemplifies that gritty like 90s New York feel for me. Very deep pocket drum, very deep bass lines, you know. Like multi-rhythmic flow, like the flow like be switching up and shit during the song. Classic 90s, and just in general New York hip hop. I like conversing in knowledge too, fam. So thanks for being here. Those of y'all that are still watching and will be watching later, we care about you, fam. This is about us. It's never just about me or we, you know, like that's what we were talking about earlier, Dion, is like, I love y'all so much, but it's gotta be a mutual like give and take, you know? Like we have to be in this together. Will I catch you on the flip side? I hope so. You take care of yourself, Dion, and everyone out there. You matter. It doesn't take me saying it. You already know that, fam. Don't let anyone tell you differently. Don't forget it. You matter. You made the Americas. You made this world what it is. Remember, our ancestors, our forebears, the very first people to walk the earth, we molded this planet so that we can live in it together. Don't forget it. Yeah. Whenever you want to go live with me or listen and tune in, I'll make it like more of a thing that you know. You feel me? It'll be more of a premeditated like thing. But I do have to go now. Take care of yourself.